this book is relished, cherished by all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada said when he was crossing the ocean, coming to America, the only thing that kept him alive, enlivened, was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is known as Gaura Sundara. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto Nityananda Prabhu, who is always very joyful. So Lord Chaitanya was known by many names. Gaura Sundar, Gaura Chandra, Gauranga, Gaura Hari, because his complexion was golden. Gaura means golden. His body, he was fair, and the other is complexion. So people call him, he answered to all these names. Gauranga, Gaura Hari, Gaura Chandra, Gaura Sundar.
Which shloka is it? Which shloka is it? Which text?
Well, I was going to read more than one.
Yes, I'll show it here also.
This is text number 2.
Of which chapter?
8.
Actually, sorry, we were reading from 145.
Nobody didn't tell me anything.
Okay. Krishna.
Anyway, it's not a bad thing to hear this again.
Yes.
So that sloka is Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra Jaya Jaya Paramananda Jaya Nityananda. Then Jaya Jaya Dvaita Acharya Kripamaya Jaya Jaya Gadadhara Pandit Mahashaya says, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Advaita Acharya, who is very merciful, and also to that great personality, Gadadhar Pandit, the learned scholar. Then, text 4, Jaya Jaya Shivasadi Jata Bhakta Gaman Pranata Hoyabondan Shabaracharan. And let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Srivas Thakur and all the other devotees of the Lord. I fall down to offer them my respect and I worship their lotus feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami teaches us first to offer respects to the Pancha Tattva. Pancha Tattva is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Gadadhar Prabhu, and Srivas and all the other devotees. Together there is Pancha Tattva. Pancha means 5. And Tattva means truth. This is the absolute truth coming in 5 features, different features. So, we must strictly follow the principle of offering our respects to the Pancha Tattva, as summarized in the mantra Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. This is the Panchatattva mantra. At the beginning of every function in preaching, especially before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We must chant the Panchatattva's names and offer our respects to them. Prabhupada stressed on this in the beginning, and he's following the advice of Krishna Kaviraj. So in this movement, we follow in the footsteps of all the previous teachers or acharyas. So we don't make up anything. We follow what they say. We accept what they say, and that's the safe path. So text number 5. Mukha kaitava kare jan sabar smarani pangu giri lange andha dekhe taragane. By remembering the lotus feet of the Panchatattva, a dumb man, and you can't speak, dumb. A dumb man can become a poet. And a layman can cross mountains. And a blind man can see the stars in the sky by the mercy of the... Simply by remembering the Panchatattva, everything is possible. Purport. In Vaishnava philosophy, there are 3 ways for perfection. Namely, sadhan siddha. Sadhan siddha means perfection attained by executing devotional service according to the rules and regulations. Sadhan siddha. The word siddha is perfect. So that's one way of achieving perfection. That is the process we follow. By strictly following the rules and regulations passed down to us from the acharyas all the way down to Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada gave us all these. Then we can become perfect in our devotional service. And that perfection is known as sadhan siddha. Then there is nitya siddha. Nitya siddha means eternal. Nitya, the word nitya means eternal. Nitya siddha means eternal perfection attained by never forgetting Krishna at any time. And then the third one is kripa siddha, perfection attained by kripa, by the mercy of the spiritual master or a Vaishnava. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami here stresses kripa siddha, perfection by the mercy of superior authorities. This mercy does not even depend on the qualifications of a devotee. By such mercy, even if a devotee is dumb, he can speak or write to glorify the Lord splendidly. And even if he is lame, he can cross mountains. And even if blind, he can see the stars in the sky. So these three classes of devotee, Sadhana Siddha, Kripa Siddha, and Nitya Siddha. In one song by Narottam Das Thakur, he says, all the associates of Mahaprabhu, who we read about them in Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of his close associates, they were all Nitya Siddhas, eternally perfect. In other words, they came down from the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everyone is Nitya Siddha. Can you imagine being around at that time with so many eternally perfect people around, Nitya Siddhas? That's what was happening when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He didn't come alone. He brought his entourage, eternally perfect beings, souls. And with them he began this movement, the Sankirtan movement, chanting and dancing. So this Chaitanya Charitamrita is an account of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and his teaching. What is he all about? See? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different. We will learn this more and more. It becomes evident. He is non-different from Krishna. He's non-different from Krishna. Is Krishna coming in this guise, as a devotee of Krishna? Right? He's Krishna, but he's coming as a devotee of himself, a devotee of Krishna. And the purpose is to teach us how to become a devotee of Krishna. What does it mean to be a devotee of Krishna? That's why we follow Lord Chaitanya. It's like if the teacher holds your hand with a piece of chalk and says, write it like this. He's actually doing it, teaching you how to do it. So Lord Chaitanya came like that. He is teacher, he is acharya. It's like Prabhupada is the acharya, the founder acharya of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But the original acharya of this movement is Lord Chaitanya. He was teaching. Acharya means one who teaches by example. He doesn't just say, you do this. He tells you what you should do and he shows you how to do it. So that was Prabhupada. Everything he told us to do was supported by the scriptures. And Lord Chaitanya is known as the most merciful and magnanimous incarnation ever. There are many incarnations of God. Lord Ram, Ramchandra, is incarnate. Lord Nrsimhadev, is incarnation. Varaha, Kurma, so many. Actually, you cannot count how many incarnations there are. It's unlimited. We know of some of them, but we are told it's unlimited. And out of all of them, Lord Chaitanya is celebrated as the most merciful, magnanimous incarnation. Why? Because what he is giving, no other incarnation who appeared before, no one else gave. And what is that? He's giving love of God. He's giving out love of God. Radha Parisisvara Mandir. So along with his associates, and this happened not very long ago, it was 500 years ago. 500 years ago, it's just like yesterday to us. We can conceive of 500 years ago. When Krishna appeared, it was 5,000 years ago. That's a little harder to relate to. No? But 500 years ago is just like yesterday. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here with his associates, and it's documented in this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and there's other books too, the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Bhagavat was written by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And these two books chiefly are the main source of information about Lord Chaitanya. And Prabhupada really wanted to give us this book because we didn't know anything. We had no knowledge. We didn't know. Even though it was just 500 years ago, they don't teach about this in the schools. You will read histories of so many different people. But history will teach us nothing. What's that? History will teach us nothing. But this history is different. But this is about when the Supreme Lord descends. He comes into this world. He can do that. God can, He's everywhere actually. Even other religions will say this, that God is everywhere. He's everywhere and still we can't see Him. Because we don't have the eyes to see Him. So especially in this age, this is the age of Kali, age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And people are poor in their thinking. They have bad habits, right? Impure habits, which makes their whole existence impure. And Prabhupada said, if you want to approach the Supreme Pure, you have to become purified. You know? So therefore he requested, when someone wants to be a member, a part of this movement, a devotee, they had to agree to follow regulated principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. He said, you cannot expect to be doing these things and approach God and know about God. No. Krishna also says this in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Yesham tvantagatam papam. So papa means sinful. You cannot understand, cannot approach God. A sinful man cannot. But if he accepts, agrees to follow a pure devotee, then he can become purified. Can become purified. So Lord Chaitanya he came with all his associates, primarily him and his associates, primarily known as the Panchatattva, 5 different features. Together they are the absolute truth. And they've come to benedict us, to liberate us. We are in bondage. And human life is meant for becoming free, liberated. That is the purpose of human life. But this is not taught in the schools, in the educational institutions. They don't teach this. They teach so many other things. But about you, who you are, what you are, and what is the purpose of life, they don't teach that. Because they themselves don't know. They themselves don't know. They're clueless. But by hearing from these books of Prabhupada, we are getting real knowledge. We are getting higher education. So these 3, Sadhana Siddha, Kripa Siddha, and Nitya Siddha. Siddha means perfect. The Nitya Siddha means he never fell down. The associates of Mahaprabhu, they came to participate in his pastime. They were never in Maya. We're always in Maya. We've fallen. We are fallen. So the Nitya Siddhas means they were never contaminated. The Sadhana Siddha and the Kripa Siddha, they may have, it is understood that they will fall, they were contaminated. But by sadhana, by the practice of Krishna Consciousness, one becomes perfect, sadhana becomes siddha. Or Kripa Siddha means by the mercy of a great devotee or by the mercy of Krishna, one becomes perfect. When one becomes perfect, That is the goal of human life. When one becomes perfect, then the Nitya Siddhas he doesn't look down on the Sadhana Siddha and the Kripa Siddha. Because they are Siddhas now. They're perfect. So, next verse, text number 6. E sabanamane jay pandit shakala tasabara vidya pata vika kula hola. The education cultivated by so-called learned scholars who do not believe these statements of Chaitanya Charitamrita is just like the tumultuous croaking of frogs. Purport. The croaking of the frogs in the rainy season resounds very loudly in the forest, with the result that snakes, upon hearing the croaking of the frogs in the darkness, they approach the frogs and swallow them, eat them. The frogs don't realize that when they're croaking, they're calling death. Snakes comes, you see? Prabhupada said, similarly, the so-called educational vibrations of the tongues of university professors who do not have spiritual knowledge is like the croaking of frogs. Because they don't know. They have no knowledge. One poet said, we are educated fools from uneducated schools. Yeah. They're proper saying, the professors, they don't know. They don't know who they are or who anybody is, but they are professors. They don't know that we are not these bodies. And that is the ABC. That's the first thing Lord Krishna teaches Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. He said, you're not this body. And 99% of the world population thinks, I am this body. Right? They're judging one another on the basis of their body, how they look. It's all external. But we are not these bodies. And it doesn't take much to understand this. Because what is the difference between a living body and a dead body? In the dead body, something is missing. What is missing? The soul. So we are the soul. We are the soul. The soul animates the body. As long as the soul is there, you can communicate with that. You can communicate with the person. But when it drops dead, there's no more communication. The body is there with all the parts, but something is missing. The person is missing. He's no longer there. So therefore what do they do with the body? Well, in India they burn it. In America or France or wherever, they bury it. no one's in the body. If someone was still in the body and you buried him, that would be a crime. Or if you burn somebody who someone's in the body and you burn alive, that's a crime. But because there's nobody in there, no one's there. Such a simple thing to understand. And who am I? Am I this body or am I something else? Well, we say this is my body. Who's the I? Who's the owner? Who's the possessor of the body? Who am I? So we are different, but they don't teach this. So after going to a university for so many years, one comes out, you ask him, who are you? What are you? He doesn't know. Because they don't touch this, they don't teach this. So that kind of knowledge is known as Shilpa Gyan. It's an art of livelihood. So you can make a living. You learn these things. But who you are, you get no knowledge there. Here you can get that. So, text number 7. E savanamani deva kori Krishna bhakti Krishna kripa nahi taragati. One who does not accept the glories of the Panchatattva but still makes a show of devotional service to Krishna can never achieve the mercy of Krishna nor advance to the ultimate goal of life. Purport. If one is seriously interested in Krishna consciousness, in Krishna conscious activities, he must be ready to follow the rules and regulations laid down by the acharyas, and he must understand their conclusions. The Shastra or scripture says, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasa pantha. This is a famous statement from the Mahabharata. What it means is, it is very difficult to understand the secret of Krishna consciousness, but one who advances by the instructions of the previous acharyas or teachers and follows in their footsteps, follows in the footsteps of his predecessors in the line of disciplic succession, will have success. Others will not. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says in this connection, Charya Vaishnava Sirva Nishtar Payeche Kebo, means, unless one serves the spiritual master and the acharyas, one cannot become liberated. And elsewhere, Narottam Das Thakur, in one of his songs, he sings, Ichai Goshai Jar Mui Taradas, Tansabara Padarinu Mora Panchagras. He says, I simply accept a person who follows in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis. And the dust of such a person's lotus feet, that is my foodstuff. It's poetic speaking. So we That is our process. We follow in the footsteps of the previous saintly persons. We are not interested in hearing from materialists. You can go on hearing forever and know nothing. But when you hear from the saintly persons, everything becomes clear. Everything becomes clear. These 6 Goswamis mentioned here, there's a picture of them on the altar there. That first picture. Vande Rupa Sanatana Rahuyavo Sri Jiva Gopalaku. They were principal disciples of Lord Chaitanya. And he instructed them to write. Lord Chaitanya himself didn't write anything except 8 verses which we recite every morning. Shikshastakam, Chaitodarpanam Arjanam. So that's all he did. But he taught a lot. And he told the 6 Goswamis, now you write books explaining everything I've taught, and give cite evidences from the Vedas to support what I said. So we are getting these books through the mercy of the 6 Goswamis. So we are indebted to them. That's why the picture is there. All the pictures that are there, from in the corner, there's Prabhupada, then there's his guru, and then his guru's guru, and his guru's guru's guru. So this is disciplic succession. The knowledge is coming down through them, and we are, by following their instructions, we advance. We become purified. So, therefore Prabhupada says, if anyone is seriously interested in Krishna conscious activities, he must follow in the footsteps of his devotees. So everything we do, everything we are doing in this movement is by the mercy of the previous acharyas. They, Prabhupada has kindly informed us. He himself, and as I said, he is acharya, he teaches by example. When Prabhupada was present, everything that we are doing, he did. That's how he taught. They say, example is better than precept. If there's an example, if someone whose life is an example, then you can learn from them. It's much easier. I mean, even just to read the books, you'll make progress. But if you have the association of someone who's living the books, then you can make much rapid progress. So that is our process. We keep good company and follow in the footsteps of the previous teachers. Then you're sure success is guaranteed. Right? Success is guaranteed. Then text number 8. Purve Aiche Jarasandha Adirajagana Veda Dharma Karikore Vishnura Pujana. Formerly, in the past, kings like Jarasandha, who was the father-in-law of Kamsa, they strictly followed the Vedic rituals, thus worshipping Lord Vishnu. Purport. In these verses, the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is very seriously stressing the importance of worship of the Panchatattva. If one becomes a devotee of Gaura Sundara or Krishna, but does not give importance to the Panchatattva, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, then his act, if in other words, if one claims to be a devotee of Krishna, but his activities, but he doesn't give importance to the Panchatattva, then his activities are considered to be offenses. Or in the words of Srila Rupa Goswami, utpata, disturbances. One must therefore be ready to offer due respects to the Panchatattva before becoming a devotee of Lord Gaurasundar or Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is an important point. There may be many people who claim to be devotees of Krishna, but if they're not following, they don't accept the Panchatattva, they don't accept Lord Chaitanya, following that, then they are pretty much just a disturbance. They are their activities are just disturbances. Text 9. Krishna nahi mani tate daitya kori mani Chaitanya nam mani toiche daitya kari jani. Translation. One who does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly a demon. Similarly, anyone who does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna, the same Supreme Lord, is also to be considered a demon. Even if they're performing rituals and studying Vedas, if they don't follow the teachers, then we say they're useless. Purport. Formerly, there were kings like Jarasandha who strictly followed the Vedic rituals. They acted as charitable, competent Kshatriyas, possessed all the Kshatriya qualities, and were even obedient to the Brahminical culture, but who did not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They followed Vedas, studying Vedas, doing good works like giving in charity and so on, but they didn't accept Krishna. Jarasandha he was one of the kings mentioned here. He attacked Krishna many times. And each time, of course, he was defeated. I think it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam 21 times. He was just a stubborn one. So, similarly, like Jarasandha, any man who performs Vedic rituals but does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must be considered an asura or demon. Similarly, one who does not accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Krishna himself, he is also a demon. This is the conclusion of authoritative scriptures. Therefore, both so-called devotion to Gaurasundara without devotional service to Krishna and so-called Krishna Bhakti without devotional service to Lord Chaitanya, those are just non-devotional activities. If one wants to be successful on the path of Krishna consciousness, he must be thoroughly conscious of the personality of Gaurasundara, Lord Chaitanya, as well as the personality of Krishna. Knowing the personality of Gaurasundara means knowing the personalities of the Panchatattva. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, pursuant to the authorities, stresses this principle for perfection in Krishna consciousness. So from the very beginning, when Prabhupada started this movement, he was always introducing us, citing references from the scriptures. He wanted to show that we are not making anything up. We're not inventing anything new. Just presenting what's already perfect knowledge. And therefore, this movement was successful. He started with nothing. But he had firm faith in the words of his spiritual master and the previous spiritual masters. And his mission was to distribute this. And now there are a few hundred temples all around the world. In places where previously there was no temples, places where they never even heard the name Krishna. Now there is Krishna temples. So if one has the eyes to see, you would see that, oh, this is what Prabhupada has done is nothing short of a miracle. You know? Prabhupada went to Russia sometime maybe in 1970 early. And he spent 3 days there. And he spoke with one Russian boy, a young man. That young man was interested in. Prabhupada spoke to him, preached to him, Prabhupada initiated him. This after 3 days, talking with him. Right? And at that time, the Iron Curtain was up. You weren't allowed. Yeah, and this Iron Curtain was in place. So you couldn't get through. They wouldn't allow religious books even into their country. They were communists. But Prabhupada initiated this one boy. Now today, there are thousands of devotees of Krishna from Russia. Thousands. Right? So this is, that's just one example, one country. And now thousands of devotees. Because people are people everywhere. They're the same. And if they get the opportunity to hear Krishna consciousness, they can become sadhan siddha. They can become perfect. So, the Krishna consciousness movement is very authorized. Authorized by who? Authorized by Lord Chaitanya. And it is out of compassion that he came. He wants people to become happy, knowing fully well they cannot be happy without Krishna consciousness. They cannot be happy. So, anyway, I think we can stop there for today. It's already 9 o'clock. Does anyone have any questions on anything I said?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna. According to what we heard, you said that if one does not accept the principles,
one does not what?
Accept the principles that Chaitanya Prabhu said and follow your demons.
There's only two kinds of people in this world. Sura and Asura. According to the Vedas. Sura means devotee, godly. And the other is not godly.
Yes. And can we conclude, or can we say that beside this Hare Krishna movement, others like those who are worshipping, those who are going to the church, going to the mosque, are they like demons or?
I see. Mostly people are ignorant, but they can become devotees. How did we become devotees? See? They are mostly ignorant because of the leaders. The blind leaders are blind, and if you follow them and you're also blind, what happens? If one blind man leads other blind men, they all fall in the ditch. They go down. But this movement is distributing Krishna consciousness, distributing literature, distributing prasadam. All of this is to help people become devotees. Our original position is that we are eternally servants of God. Eternally servants of Krishna. That is our identity. Everyone. But people are misled and misguided by the leaders. And, they're going nowhere. Blind leading the blind. So, yeah, I mean, Krishna's Kaviraj is heavy. He says, oh, if they don't do this, then they're demons. But we are preaching to the demons, trying to make them become devotees. And, you know, distributing prasadam, distributing books, distributing the holy name, like when we go out and chant. It's Benedictine, it's purifying people. Just to hear it, just to hear the names of Krishna, that is pious. So.
Thank you so much. And then Bhakti Thakur also is explaining that Vaishnavas, they're not criticizing other religious groups.
Right.
The reason for that is that they know that other groups, by following their scriptures, because there's still some principles of bhakti,
right.
they're making gradual progress.
Yes.
And then one day they will pick up
Yeah.
the Vaishnava Dharma.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're not condemning and criticizing other religious groups. You know, I mean, I was raised as a Catholic. My mother was a Catholic, and so she raised me as a Catholic. And so I believe in God. You know, I was following the teachings of Lord Jesus Christ. But then when I met the devotees, it was not a stretch to take it up. It was easier because of my background. And that we see everywhere. People are becoming devotees. Everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. In communist countries, just anywhere. There are devotees in China, Japan, Africa, Europe, everywhere. Okay?